करो स्टार्ट करो. Hello. Hello everyone. Welcome to Navavimarsh. Today we will be continuing with our series of Maharana and we will be reading chapter 8. In the previous live stream we had finished till chapter 7. We've got two guests here, Nina and our producer. Nina, anything you want to add?
Namaste to all the viewers. Today we will be reading about Maharana Sangram Singh. Last time we had finished the text with Maharana Kumbha, and we should continue with chapter 8, just as Shekhar has said.
Yes, thank you, Nina. Now, if you have anyone have any questions, so we will
So I
continue with
think
the
we can
chapter.
start off. Yeah.
Yes, if you could, yes, thank you. So here in this chapter, we will continue after the Maharana, the previous Maharana. Now we have continuing with the chapter 8, Maharana Sangram Singh, the spiritual warrior. Rama I became the king of Mewar after Kumbha's murder and continued the work of his father. Raimal was a worthy son of his father and continued the expansion of Mewar kingdom. Uh, in the previous chapter, we had learned about the crisis that was being faced by the Mewar kingdom. Now, Yasuddin, the ruler of Malwa, attacked Raimal but was defeated by the later at Chittor. Ghiyasuddin reassembled his forces and again attacked Mewar, and this time Prithviraj, the eldest son of Raimal, fought Ghiyasuddin and arrested him after a stealth attack on Mewar camp. Ghiyasuddin was kept a prisoner in Chittor for 1 month and let free after extracting heavy penalties. Raimal died in 1508, passing on a flourishing kingdom stuffed with money and resources to his son Sangram Singh. The third child of Maharani Raimal, Maharana Sangram Singh, fondly known as the Maharana Sangha, ascended the throne of Mewar. His subsequent struggles and victories are perhaps the most intriguing saga ever to be found around a king anywhere in human history. Raimal had 13 sons, with Prithviraj and Jaimal being the eldest, followed by Sangha. One day, the three brothers went to consult a fortune teller who predicted that Sangha would be one to adorn the throne of Mewar. Prithviraj lost his temper and hit Sangha's right eye with the rear of his sword. This ruptured Sangha's eye and left him blind in one eye. Both the elder brothers attacked Sangha to kill him, but Sangha was saved by Surajmal, brother of King Raimal. After a few months, the question bothered the elder brothers again, and they took Sangha along with their uncle to a Charangal, a mystic named Biri Bai, who was supposed to be Shakti incarnate. Biri Bai had arranged for a throne and a carpet made of tiger hide in the temple of goddess. Prithviraj and Jaimal sat on the throne while Sangha and his uncle sat on the ground, on the carpet. While the elder brothers asked Biri Bai who would ascend the throne of Mewar, she replied, "The decision has been made. This tiger hide was meant to be for the king of Mewar. Since Sangha sits on it, he will rule Mewar after Raimal. The other two brothers will be killed in a war with the enemies of Mewar." Things are getting interesting. The two brothers attacked Sangha, determined to kill him there and then. But Surajmal intervened again and fought them, allowing Sangha to escape with his life. Jaimal chased Sangha, who ended up in a village called Sevantri. An old friend of the Mewar family, Rao Beda was at the Roop Narayan temple at Savantri. Beda took Sangha under his protection and administered first aid to his wounds. Jaimal arrived soon afterwards. Beda fought with him and his forces and sacrificed his life, thus giving enough time and rest to Sangha to escape further westwards to Marudhara, Marwar. Upon hearing the intercrossing feud among the brothers, Rana Raimal exiled Prithviraj and Jaimal. Sangha, on the other hand, gave up his horse and became a shepherd in Srinagar near Ajmer, at the house of a Rajput named Thakur Karamchand Panwar. As foretold by the mystic, Jaimal was killed by a fellow Rajput Ratan Singh. Prithviraj too was poisoned by his brother-in-law and cremated at Kumbhalgarh. Jaimal was deeply aggrieved at the loss of the both of his elder sons until he learned that Sangha was alive. Raimal summoned Sangha and showered Thakur Karamchand with jagirs for protecting his hire for all these years. With Raimal's death in 1508, Sangha became the ruler of Mewar. The deep impact of astrology and divine incarnates on the Hindu psyche and life is aptly demonstrated at the prediction about the Sangha's life by the fortune teller and Biribai. The Hindu society has, through the ages, been guided by these metaphysical domains. It is not the author's intent to speak for or against the practice. The idea is to merely present an aspect of social life throughout the ages as it had such a profound influence on royal families. We can only imagine how ordinary citizens of Mewar yielded to these occult practices. The practice of polygamy affecting the history of Mewar so adversely also deserves a mention. It is not a relic for barbarism or primal necessity, but gave birth to many trajectories of family feuds that it became impossible to contain them. While the Islamic murderers were menacing at the doors of land, every queen of the Maharana was engaged in conspiracies to anoint her son the crown ruler of Mewar. The argument that matrimonial bonds were forced to augment, augment the economic and military might of royal dynasties does hold some merit, but if we weight cost benefit ratio, the cost of polygamy in royal families far overweight the benefits of this practice. The turbulent, the turbulent childhood and violent ascent of Sangha to Mewar's throne also tells us how adversity shapes the persona of a royal warrior. It also tells us how he eventually overcome his all handicap that life and faith throw at him and raises to the pinnacle of not only the kingdom of Mewar, but to become one of the greatest Hindu kings ever. We will come across some more examples on studying the lives of Maharana Pratap and Maharana Amar Singh too. Prima facie, it appears that Prithviraj, the elder brother of Sangha, was of a foul temperament. Though he had skills to become the next king of Mewar, his uncontrollable anger and myopic pursuit of his ambition led to his untimely death when he was killed by his own brother-in-law over a petty dispute. Sangha appears to be a timid and repulsive person in his youth. Although fit and muscular, he did not fight his brothers aggressively and even endured the loss of an eye with certain degree of indifference. His naivete in trusting his jealous siblings also shows in his conduct during his youth, when he goes to Biribai for the same question even after losing an eye to Prithviraj. But for his uncle Surajmal, Sangha would have been killed at the temple itself. We can only imagine the consequences if such a disaster had befallen Mewar. Sangha's Agyatwas at Thakur Karamchand's place in Ajmer underlines his aloof persona, which was resigned to a life of anonymity without much agitation. Though We also witness the metamorphosis of same mundane and disinterested person into one of the most aggressive warrior kings to have ever ruled not only Mewar but a substantial portion of the country at that time. Sanga's expansion of the kingdom matched that of the Rana Kumbhas, even though he inherited a war-torn house of Mewar. It establishes Sanga as a deeply spiritual and fiercely loyal servant of Mewar, as he, though uninterested in the throne, rose to the occasion and responded wholeheartedly when beckoned to war. As we travel further through the life of this amazing Maharana, who defeated the mighty Lodhis of Delhi and numerous other kings and sultans, we shall in realize in him the steely resolve, military acumen, and leadership skills of the highest quality seen anywhere. What must be underlined there is that the fact that courageous and fearless Sangha did not fight his brothers. Both the times he was attacked, he chose to escape instead of confronting his brothers. Maybe we can learn a very valuable lesson from Sangha that even if all is at stake, one never attacks his own family. In spite of losing an eye to his brother, Sangha forgave Prithviraj. Yet the same Sangha transforms into a fierce warrior than when confronted by Islamists and other enemies of Mewar. Maharana Sangha's life is a tale of how a beaten up prince overcome his physical and psychological handicaps and rose from a state of pathos and abashment to the highest pedestal. The central message of Sangha's life is that no defeat is final, no handicap cripples enough, no hardship sever enough of one's spirit, and inner resolve remain unbent to external adversities. Man has infinite capacity to recover from every setback in life. Once on the throne, Sangha immediately got down to the business of governing and expanding the borders of Mewar. After the Chauhans, Delhi witnessed an incensed civil war, unleashed successively by the dynasties of Gauri, Khilji, Slave, and Lodi. Rana Sangha set out with 80,000 horses, 7 Rajas of the highest ranks, 9 Raos, and 104 chieftains bearing the titles of Raval and Rawat, along with 500 war elephants to conquer the vast territories of northern, central, and western India. The Prince of Ajmer, Prithviraj Kachwa, and Rao Ganga of Marwar paid homage to him. Raos of Ajmer, Gwalior, Sipri, Raisen, Kalpi, Chanderi, Bondi, Gurgaon, Rampur, and Abu served him as tributaries and held him as their chief. Sangha gave Karamchand Pawar, the Thakur, who had sheltered him, the grant of Ajmer and the title of Rao for his son Jagmal. It is quite remarkable that a prince who had so meekly surrendered his right as the heir of Mewar and was designed to live a life of anonymity, rose to become one of the strongest rulers of Mewar, under whom the expanse of Mewar resembled that of Rana Kumbha's reign. Strange are the ways of life. A meek person who would otherwise have been relegated to the dustbin of history, became the king of Mewar and took its glory to amazing heights. Sangha's ambition was countered by the surrounding Muslim kingdoms of Delhi, Malwa, and Gujarat. Now, Nina, if you want to continue.
Yes, we can continue here from the conquest of Malwa. So, about Malwa. Malwa was a rich kingdom to the east of Mewar and was ruled by Nasiruddin. Nasiruddin died shortly after Sangha's ascent, and Mahmud Khilji too became the ruler of Malwa, assisted by Rajput chieftain Medini Rai. Malwa is the region basically in western Madhya Pradesh, you can say. So it is just on the
Alongside
border,
Rajasthan border.
eastern,
Yes,
eastern border of Mewar. So Medini
yes.
Rai was an ambitious general, and soon his writ ran large over the affairs of Malwa. It was merely a matter of time before Mahmud and Medini fell apart. Medini took control of Malwa and exiled Mahmud, and Mahmud ran away to Gujarat and appealed to Muzaffar of Gujarat to help him to get rid of Medini Rai. Medini. So this Medini is an Hindu, correct? His name sounds like that.
I'm not too sure about that. I have not read about it much.
Okay, okay. I think he might be Hindu because surname Rai is there.
He is Hindu. He's a
That
Rajput chief, so he is Hindu. I don't
oh
know
right, right.
about
I
the
missed.
background.
He's Hindi.
He is,
Correct.
he is
Hindu, Hindu.
Hindu, but from which clan or which region we don't know, or what was the his ambitions or the motivations we don't know.
Ah, okay. I'll continue. Medini turned to Sangha for help and appealed that there was no man better than him and that if he did not assist his own race, who else would do so? Sangha consented to help Medini and attacked Mahmud Khilji to at Gagraun in CE 1519. The Muslim historians themselves maintain that as many as 30 army generals and thousands of soldiers of Khilji were slaughtered, and Mahmud himself was captured alive and taken to Chittor. Sangha took care of him and replaced him honorably on three conditions: reparations for all the expenses of the wars fought between Mewad and Malwa, surrender of a precious gold cap and belt belonging to the Malwa family, and three, a son of Mahmud Khilji would be stationed in Mewad court as a pledge for good relations. Notably, this is done 1519, so this is the same year of Battle of Panipat as well. So there was an opposite outcome also. But one cannot fact.
The Hemuvan, Hemuvan.
No, no, this is the first
Uh,
battle of Panipat. Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, they fight, no?
mm,
Hemu
yes.
one is second battle. Mm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll continue. One cannot fathom the motive behind Sanga's act of leaving Mahmud Khilji alive because though Khilji could never damage Mewar directly, but for the rest of his life he kept joining the enemies of Mewar, thereby causing loss of life and property to Mewar. Mahmud never showed any gratitude towards Sangha for sparing his life. It must also be remembered that Mahmud Khilji's co-religionist Alauddin Khilji was responsible for the first Saka of Chittor when thousands of Hindu women committed Jauhar due to Alauddin's siege and when Rawal Ratan Singh perished fighting the Khiljis. Mahmud Khilji stayed loyal to the Ummah or Muslim Brotherhood and viewed Sangha as a perennial Hindu rival. This malaise of forgiving captured Muslim rulers by Hindu benevolence was eradicated only with Rana Pratap mercilessly slaughtering his enemies instead of yielding to the fake morality and individual glory at the cost and safety of Mewar. The main protagonist of the battle against Khilji was a Charan general called Haridas Mahi Yaraya, a very close friend of Sangha. Sangha was so pleased with Haridas that he offered him the fort of Chittor. Haridas, being a loyal friend, refused the fort and settled for 12 villages as Jagir for himself. Such was the simplicity of Sangha and such was the loyalty he inspired in friends like Haridas. Campaign against Gujarat. Muzaffar Khan, the Nawab of Gujarat, was another enemy that Sangha vanquished while expanding the borders of Mewar. Muzaffar nominated Mubaris ul Mulk as the governor of Idar. Mubaris kept a pet dog at his door by the name of Sangha. When news of this act of Mubaris reached Sangha, he attacked Mubaris ul Mulk with an army of 40,000 troops and totally routed them at Idar. Idar is in Gujarat, right?
Is a northern portion. The
Northern. Okay.
yes, the eastern. It's close to the all the where the Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Gujarat meet. That section, the
Okay, okay.
northeastern portion of Gujarat.
Not far from Udaipur then. It should be
No,
not
no,
very
no.
far.
Just across the border. Just across the border.
Okay, okay. So the Muslim army escaped to the fort of Ahmednagar and locked themselves up in the fort. Muzaffar was livid with Mubarak for insulting Sangha and refused to offer any help. Here is a photo of the spikes on the gates of the forts in those days. A Rajput warrior, Dungar Singh, showed exemplary fighting skills in the siege and slaughtered a lot of enemies. Dungar lost most of his sons and brothers in this battle. One of his sons, Kanha, performed an unbelievable feat. The gates of the fort had sharp spikes as senior on them to prevent elephants from breaking the gates open. Kanha stood in front of the spikes and ordered the Mahout to let the animal loose on the gates. Though Kanha's body was crushed, but the elephant managed to break the gate of the fort. Sanga's army slaughtered the Muslim army, though Mubarak escaped with a few of his aides. Muzaffar then sent a force of 1 lakh cavalry and 100 elephants under Malik Ayaz and Imad ul Mulk to defeat Rana Sanga. Mahmud of Malwa, who joined them, and the huge army laid siege on the fort of Mandsaur, which was protected by a vassal of Sanga, that is Ashok Mal Rajput. Sanga too assembled an army of 1 lakh and came to the village Nansa near Mandsaur. Salhadi Tanwar of Raisen was the main general for Sanga in this battle. So in this battle, Ayaz was totally routed by Sanga and then he escaped to Gujarat. Mahmud of Malwa approached Sanga to get his son released from Sanga's captivity in lieu of meeting all the expenses of the war. Then we see the treachery of Bahadur Shah. After his defeat, Muzaffar stayed in Gujarat and didn't bother Sanga. But Gujarat was destined to play another sinister plot in Sanga's life. The second son of Muzaffar, Bahadur Shah, he left Gujarat and took shelter with Sanga. In reality, he was nursing grudges against Sanga for his slaughter of the Muslim army of Gujarat at Ahmednagar. Sanga's mother adopted Bahadur Shah as her son, who later became the king of Gujarat. After this is too much open mindedness towards them, letting him stay with them and so on, right?
I don't know what was happening. It was like there was no foresight to see. It's like they were playing the games of like toys. They were playing with toys. It's like they were what they were doing. I'm just is beyond my understanding.
They've let him go in this case as well back to Gujarat and so on. So yeah,
They were not even
they were
playing the role of kings here. They were
yeah,
slaughtering their
they're
own
just
people
concerned
again
with
and
their own
again
territory.
because of the
They're
stupid
just
things.
concerned with their own territory in the end, I guess.
Even the territory one, they were just killing their own people again and again, and their people were not getting anything again, for their loyalty. They were just giving their lives for them, and they
Yeah,
were repeating the
true.
same mistakes again and again. It's like there was some kind of scenario was happening there. I don't know what was happening because this myopic view I can still observe in people, and particularly this group. It is still there. It has not gone there
Hmm.
anywhere.
Ah, I'll continue anyways. After Sanga's murder in CE 1528, Bahadur attacked Chittor in CE 1535 and destroyed it. The second Saka of Chittor happened because of the siege laid by Bahadur Shah. Sanga's simplicity and large-heartedness bred a snake like Bahadur Shah to have disastrous consequences for Mewar, like we just spoke. On one hand, this incident shows the naivete of Sanga and his mother. On the other hand, it also demonstrates the value system of a jihadi like Bahadur Shah. He had all the right to nurse a grudge against Sanga for the slaughter at Ahmednagar, to seek shelter and create place in the heart of the family of the enemy and then cause total destruction of that family adequately demonstrates that their value system has no place for loyalty and friendship over the commitment to spread and victory of their religion. The story of Bahadur Shah needs to be told only to underline the failure of Hindu royalty to understand this amoral and opportunistic behavior of Islamists. Bahadur Shah had an Islamic teacher, Sheikh Jiu, as his master. Bahadur told Sheikh about his desire to destroy Chittor as a revenge for Sanga slaughtering Muslims. Sheikh replied, "With the destruction of Chittor, you too shall be destroyed." Bahadur replied, "I don't care." Bahadur went to Sanga as a refugee and was accepted by him and his mother, the Jhali queen. Once a nephew of Sanga had invited Bahadur for dinner. Bahadur was attracted to one of the dancers. Seeing this, the nephew of Sanga mockingly said, "This damsel was taken in the loot of Ahmednagar." Bahadur lost his cool and cut the nephew into two pieces there and then. Rajputs leapt on Bahadur for revenge, but the queen mother took out her dagger and proclaimed, "If anyone was to harm my son Bahadur, I will stab myself." This disease of hyper-sentimentality has infected Hindus for centuries. Even after seeing his true colors, the Hindu king and his family were blind to the truth about Bahadur. Rest has been told. Bahadur had his revenge and destroyed Chittor when his time came. Right. Pretty much everything we discussed was that.
Hey, if you notice something in this particular case, they were using woman against the man. But see, if it had been someone other than the woman, uh, that guy would not have been left alive. And even if
Exactly. Yeah. He also made himself close to the woman,
yes,
kind of
and this is a
strategically.
particular phenomena, uh, which is present in all the Abrahamic religions. They will first tackle the woman, then they will go for the males.
Hmm.
But even then, it is still confusing why the woman will allow such a thing to happen. Because that nephew was also some kind of relation with her, no?
Exactly. He was also like a son to her, if common sense should dictate that way.
Strange.
Yeah, can't say much to that. So, yes, we should continue the next section. Annihilation of Delhi Sultanate. Sanga also recaptured the prestigious and impregnable Ranthambore from the imperialist general Ali and killed him. Sanga reached the Afghan city of Ghazni twice during his victory campaigns. Oh, is this true? He slew Firoz Shah Pathan to annex Nagaur. Thus, during
These
Sanga's
were all
time,
over
Mewad
northern
extended.
India. As far as
Okay, okay.
during his campaign, he had gone through the whole of Pakistan region, Afghanistan. He had also gone through Madhya Pradesh, even till Maharashtra. He had gone.
Hmm.
Either he
Right,
or
right.
his army somewhere, or he had gone through the UP whole UP section. There Himachal also. He was moving quite a lot.
Thus, during Sanga's time, Mewad extended from Tila Khal near Bayana in the north to Malwa and Gujarat in the south, up to Sindhu River in the west, while the Aravalis formed the eastern boundary. 18 pitched battles were fought between Mewad and the forces of Delhi and Malwa, where two battles were fought frontally between Sanga and Ibrahim Lodhi at Bakrole and Khatawli. At Khatawli in CE 1517, Lodhi's army was slaughtered and his son was held captive. It was at Khatawli that Sanga lost one of his hands in combat. Because of an arrow injury, his one leg too was compromised. Sanga took Ibrahim Lodhi's son to Chittor and released him after extracting heavy reparations. In CE 1518, Lodhi again attacked Sanga at Bakrole near Dholpur with a much larger force and was routed by Rana conclusively. Lodhi's army, led by Mian Maksa, comprised of 30,000 infantry and 300 elephants, but Rajputs slaughtered them and a huge clash of elephants, horses, and riches came their way. Sanga was now in the vicinity of Agra and itching to release the heart of northern region from the clutches of Mlechchas. The victory over Ibrahim Lodhi was a crowning glory of Sanga's life. Rana Sanga was now the claimant to the heart of Bharat, and Mewad's imperial ambitions were unstoppable. Sanga materialized this ambition both by diplomatic means and military efforts. It was at this time of the might and expanse of Mewad's Rana Sanga that the Chagatai Uzbek Babur invaded India's northwest frontiers. A big misconception that has been circulated in the history of teaching of our nation is that Sangha invited Babur to invade India with the idea of defeating Ibrahim Lodi unitedly. It defies logic that Sangha would have invited Babur to defeat Ibrahim Lodi, whom Sangha had single-handedly defeated already at Bakrole, Khatauli, and Dholpur. There is no reference to such a letter by Todd, Shamal Das, Rajendra Bhatt, or any prominent historian in their works. In fact, R.C. Majumdar quotes Firishta in his book that Sultan of Gujarat Muzaffar Khan's general Imad ul Mulk sent such a letter of help to Babur. This letter was intercepted by the ruler of Dungarpur, who was a vassal of Sangha. Sangha sealed a treaty with the Gujarat Sultan, and thus, instead of a Gujarat Mughal treaty, the Gujarat Mewad treaty was signed. This is also a kind of um, a bone of contention that why would they sign a treaty with their own kind of arch enemies?
It was a false flag, no? So
Hmm.
it will give. They will the ruler of Gujarat will be in a comfort zone. He will be expecting like no one will attack him because he will have an enemy or a friend on the other side of the enemy. So
Yeah.
Ma- the
So
Mewar would be in
you can
between
imagine the
the
picture
Mughals and
that
the Gujarat.
Rana Sangha has conclusively defeated Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi. He has conclusively defeated Malwa as well. So his north and east are completely subdued. But at the south, he kind of is too soft on Gujarat. That is one thing that is left over, I guess.
Uh, in the particular case of Gujarat, it is very hard to campaign here in Gujarat because there is no fresh water, the water sources for the army just to sustain themselves. Even in Rajasthan, uh, if you go on the eastern side of Aravalli, you will have plenty of water for the army. But in Gujarat, other than some the border portions in the northern Gujarat, you will have a very difficult time for water. So it's very hard to compare. Yeah, mostly in the inner sections like the Shastra section, it was pretty much independent. Uh, the the only thing even the invaders
But
had been able to
places
do
like
was this
Ahmedabad,
vassalize them.
they have their rivers, no? Sabarmati, Narmada, Tapi.
No, Savarmati did not have that much water to sustain. It's pretty much salty river. It's not. Its water is not
Oh,
drinkable.
okay, okay.
Yes. You will have to filter them. The two rivers, the Tapi and Narmada, they are in the southern portion. There is no river in the northern portion or the whole peninsula of Saurashtra branch. There is no river.
Okay, I get it. Okay, I'll continue this. Or do you want to read from here? A conflict with Bob?
My throat will not support it. You can continue.
Okay, okay. The stage was thus set for the final march of Sangha as a resurgent Hindu claimant for liberating the heartland from the Muslim robbers sitting in and around Delhi. Babur defeated a weak and depleted Ibrahim Lodi in the First Battle of Panipat in 1526, where Ibrahim Lodi was slain and his army was destroyed. Babur was a fanatic Islamist and always credited his victories to his prophet and thus inspired the confidence of his troops. He is supposed to have remarked after the First Battle of Panipat, "Not to me, O God, but to thee be the victory." Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur plundered Bharat between 1528 and 1530 C after murdering Sangha by poisoning. On 21st February 1527, Sangha met the Turk-Afghan forces at the town of Bayana on the northeastern border of Rajasthan. The advanced parties of Sangha's army slaughtered 1,500 of Babur's forces in a skirmish when Babur made a hasty retreat. The Muslim general sang praises for Rajput warriors, and Babur's army was completely demoralized. The Mughal general Mansoor Barla is quoted as saying, "The Rajputs have indomitable courage, their personification of Azrael, death. Unlike our troops, they do not abandon the field." Khan's and Babur's army began to leave. The Turks started complaining about defending a land that they hated. They even requested Babur to return to Kabul. Babur himself writes, no manly word or brave counsel was heard from anyone whatsoever. Babur mediated upon his loss and made peace overtures Sangha, to which Sangha responded initially, but the talks broke down when Sangha insisted that Babur pay yearly taxes to Mewad. Babur was fully aware of the sunken morale of his troops, so he appealed to the theological affinity of his troops and gave very passionate speeches to his men to fight and kill the infidels in the name of Islam. Even when an Afghan astrologer Muhammad Sharif predicted defeat, Babur did not back off. There is a tale that Babur asked the fortune teller to predict how long he was going to live. The fortune teller replied with a date few decades hence. Babur beheaded the fortune teller there and then and proclaimed, just like his forecast of his own age has been falsified, so will his prediction of the defeat of Allah's army. According to Babur now, this is just a folktale, as Babur forgave this astrologer later, but forbade him from making any more predictions. Additionally, Babur publicly never vowed to never touch wine and women and never shave his beard or tax a Muslim again. Thus, during Islamic expansion in Zealand, his army of most Turkish, Uzbek, Tatar, Afghan, and Mongol mercenaries, Babur prepared for the final showdown with the Hindu forces. Here is a portion of the speech given by Babur as written in his own biography, Babarnama. Noble men and soldiers and every man that comes into the world is subject to dissolution. Only I'll, yeah, this is a speech. So, right, from where can I continue here?
Yeah, I think after from here, I guess page 99. You have to after the battle portion, the battle of Kanwa, the picture. After that, if you want.
A lot of pseudo liberals. So this is more a commentary.
Yes, that much. There's
If
not
you
much
can go a little
there.
bit more down.
We can continue if you want. We can continue the rest in next stream. We can discuss about the things that is being done in this chapter so far.
Yes. So, the viewers, if you have any questions or any points to discuss, you can write in the comment section. I'll read from a little bit further down.
Yes.
Go down to this section where it's written on 16 March 1527, the forces of Mewad and Babur clashed in the legendary Battle of Khanwa. From there, from here I'll read. Khanwa is indeed the most decisive battle to have been fought between Hindus and Muslims in the subcontinent. Sangha led an army of 2 lakhs against 90,000 of Babur. The battle began very early in the morning. A very lethal and smart warrior tactic. Surprise awaited Sangha and his forces in the form of Mughal cannons equipped with their firepower. The Rajputs were totally bewildered by the might and effects of gunpowder. Thousands of Sangha's forces collapsed and horses and elephants rampaged backward on his own army. Then the Rajputs came up with a mind-numbing solution to the cannons. The Rajput soldiers and chieftains sunk their heads into the blazing cannons, thus rendering them useless by studding them with meat and blood. The Mughals were astounded to see this extreme act of valor by Sangha's army and tide started turning in favor of the Mewar army. A very lethal war tactic among Muslim invaders was to defeat the best dozens of their archers, secured by guards to search for the enemy king or leader and bombard him with a barrage of arrows to incapacitate him or eliminate him. Muslim rulers never exposed themselves to the Hindu armies and stayed behind the ranks and file. Hindu kings, on the other hand, led from the front as an act of valor and leadership. This was an act of navy, which cost Hindus a lot in their wars against Islamists. Babur had deputed his best archers to identify Sangha and hit him singularly with the barrage of arrows. One arrow hit him hard on the skull and Sangha lost consciousness. He was taken away from the battlefield by his lieutenants. This caused a lull in the war for an hour or so. Babur writes in his memoirs, the accursed infidels remained confounded for an hour. Then Ajja Jhala of Halwar wore the royal dress himself and pretended to be Sangha to keep the morale of his troops high. The trick worked and the Hindu army resumed fighting the Turks ferociously. Around mid-noon, Salhadi Tanwar, along with his 35,000 horsemen, defected to the army of Babur. Sanga's chieftains regrouped and resumed their attack even after this treachery, but kept dying one after the other. By evening, every single chief of any consequence had laid down his life to save the Dharma. Manik Chand Chauhan, Raval Uday Singh of Wagad, Ratan Singh Chundawat of Mirta, Chandrabhan Chauhan, Jhala Ajha, Ramdas Songara, Gokul Das Parmar, Raimal Rathod, Khet Singh, Hasan Khan Mewati, and Muhammad Lodi were all slain fighting for their Rana. Both sides suffered heavy losses, though the numerical loss of Hindus was significantly higher because of the use of cannons and muskets by the Muslims. The roads to Delhi, Agra, Bayana, and Alwar were littered with limbs and bodies of soldiers from both sides. The war continued well into the night with only a few thousand warriors left on each side. The leaderless, the Hindu army retreated to their camps and were relieved to find that their king was still alive. The Muslims stayed huddled in the night for a fear of a retaliatory attack by Rajputs. Ganga of Marwad, Medini Rai, and Raja Prithviraj Kachwaha of Amer protected Sangha as he recovered from his wound. Babur proclaimed Khanwa his victory and writes, "For the sake of Islam, I became a wanderer. I battled infidels and Hindus and determined to become a martyr. Thank God I became a holy warrior." In almost all recorded history, Khanwa has been documented as a loss for Sangha and a decisive victory of Babur. We attempt to present an alternate version based on the following facts and arguments. The fundamental question that arises is that if Khan was indeed a victory for Muslims, then why wasn't Rana Sangha killed? Babur killed Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat throughout his war campaigns in Afghanistan and Bharat. It was the norm for him to kill the enemy. Then what prevented him from doing the same to Sangha? The only reason for this could be that Sangha had inflicted enough damage on Babur at Khanwa to immobilize him. Besides, with the powerful kings of Jodhpur, Amer, Siroi, Chanderi still at his side, Sangha was still a formidable force. Another question that arises is that Khanwa was lost by Sangha. Why wasn't Sangha chased even a few kilometers? In fact, Babur writes in Babarnama, when I had gone 2 miles towards the pagans' camp, I turned back because it was late in the day. I came to our camp at the bedtime prayer. Sangha survived almost 1 year after Khanwa, but Babur was unable to touch him. How? Uh, There are three independent sources of Mewad history that talk of Khanwa as a victory for Sangha after fears. Ranchod Bhatt, in his book Amar Kavyam, writes of a meeting between Babur and Sangha after Khanwa. Chittor Patnama, who mentions a similar meeting after Khanwa. Surajmal Misran writes in his epic work Vanch Bhaskar about the conclusive victory of Sangha at Khanwa. This is a very significant change from the narrative set by Muslim historians who mention nothing of such a meeting. 4. The writers traveled to Khanwa and was astonished to see Hindu-style chhatris littered around Khanwa even today. Such chhatris were only built in memories of Hindu kings and chiefs. If Khanwa was lost, then how did Rajputs make these chhatris for their fallen kings and leaders? These are big structures that would have taken months to build. There are at least 9 such chhatris in and around Khanwa, which are in extremely vulnerable state. 500 years after Khanwa, these chhatris standing are ample evidence that Khanwa was the victory for Sangha. 5. If Khanwa was lost by Sangha, why was Humayun, Babur's son, sent to Kabul instead of being stationed somewhere in India? Why wasn't Humayun given an area to govern in Bharat if Babur had conclusively defeated all his enemies? After completely destroying Ludis and defeating the Rajputs, who was Babur afraid of? These are some fundamental questions that must be investigated and answered. So, this is basically points on why the victory was not exactly on Babur's favor, as it's commonly portrayed. But if you look at
His
either
points are
side, it
valid.
is so either side, if you look at it, it looks like a Pyrrhic what they call a
His
Pyrrhic
points are
victory.
valid, but
That
still, the result
both
has
of them
not been
were kind
achieved.
of
He was
annihilated.
not pushed
Ah,
back, no? He was not pushed back.
no, but
That's the problem.
you can argue that both of them were uh, virtually annihilated by the kind of battle that took place. That Babur
We
had
can
to go back
discuss
to
it as a
Kabul.
victory or not. That is true. It is a
Yeah,
victory for us that we had still stopped him, his invasion, to some extent. But
correct.
even after that, there was no one left to counter him. After Rana Sanga, there was nobody left. The whole of the Rajput front had collapsed after his death. There was nobody to witness to anything in regards to the resistance or to handle any other the small bits here and there of the Muslims that were present there. Even the Gujarat Sultanate was left behind, just like that. Grew powerful after that.
Right. So can we maybe skip a little part and go further down?
Sure, sure. Second.
I was thinking we can skip
Mm,
most of the battle
yes.
section since we have the
Yes.
gist of it.
Yes.
Further
He's
down.
just looking
I'll
for
tell
the
you where to stop.
arguments.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Yes.
just giving the arguments.
Yes. Mm, just where the Rana had gone and where his Samadhi was chosen. He was putting all the information about those and that. Here is talking about the
Go further down.
contemporary situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
He comes back to the topic little further down. This is still part of the battle. Little bit more
Yes.
down.
That it starts with part two now. We
Oh wait,
can leave it at
go up. There is a small part we can cover. So little bit further up.
this is the here the murder one.
Babur, that part, Sangha kept tormenting Babur for 1 year. Little bit above.
Yes.
Ha, here. So I'll read from here. Sangha kept tormenting Babur for 1 year after Kanwa threw surprise attacks on him. Babur writes in Baburnama that he was terrorized to travel around Agra and Delhi, since Rajputs could attack him anytime. Babur could only relax after Sangha had been murdered. Babur too died on 27 December 1530, within 2 years of Sangha's murder. Thus, he could not take any significant advantage from Sangha's demise, except causing plunder in North India and Bengal. He is said to have been poisoned by Ibrahim Lodi's mother. All the stories about Babur offering his life to the divine above in lieu of life of Humayun are just that, stories. At least the writer didn't find any evidence for this concocted tale. In fact, the only reason for this concoction could be to show these psychotic murderers as humane and civilized. Back in Mewad, Sangha's murder proved only to be the downward turning point in Rajput dominance, not only in Mewad but in entire Bharatvarsh. The consequences of Sangha's murder were even more devastating for Hindus than the loss at the Battle of Tarain by Prithviraj Chauhan in CE 1192. So here are some points about the consequences essentially. When we go down, yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
We leave it at it then. We will continue
Yeah,
the second part
this
in
was
the
basically
next
the
chapter.
section on, yeah, Maharana Sangha.
Hmm. Still, the main problem still continues, but it was a little bit of improvement on the Sanghas part. That he is not leaving enemies on the battlefield alive at least.
Exactly. And he did basically a lot of the enemies which he had, he did kind of conclusively defeat them as well. Malwa, or you can say even Delhi, right? That they won't harass them twice.
mm,
But of course, he got a new enemy in Babur. And the episode with
mm.
Gujarat is also there, which is kind of problematic towards the end. Yeah,
I guess distance also played a role here, but as far as I can see, the ambition was too low. They were content with the things they had. They do not want to expand too much, or
yeah,
I don't know. It's like they were grappling with their own problems in their family rather than having a strategic or a foresight, any kind of thing to expand themselves or to contain this virus that was spreading all over India. Nothing of the sort was happening. Even uh, even their own people were
and
killing
also
each other
another thing,
rather than fighting.
although they
Yes.
fight together in the battlefield against Babur, but generally you don't see that the you can say the neighboring Hindu rulers were that collaborative with them, because you saw in between, in the middle of the battle, some 35,000 soldiers apparently defected to Babur's side. What is this going on?
The most of the defeats on the battlefield happened because of the betrayal only. Now, what was exactly happening? I don't know. Why were Hindu kings always being betrayed? I still don't get it. Wha- It's like they did not have the foresight to at least uh, predict some kind of situation like this, or they did not had the total control like the Europeans had of their vessels. Even if we go by the battles
True,
of
true.
the uh, world during the time, the deflection was very rarely. Most of the deflection was happening because of the feudatory class. The feudal world had more of a deflection
Every
tendency than
vassal wants
the.
to become his own king.
Yes, yes. He wanted to be treated like a king, even if there was someone higher of a higher station. Still, he wanted to be treated like a king from them. Now, even if you deflect, the same position will be given to you. You will not be treated like a king. Still, they were doing that. I don't know.
Agreed.
Mm.
So I don't
It was
see
a
any
good read.
comments as
If you
such.
have, yes, if you have any questions, anyone? No, then we will continue and end the stream here. Nina,
Yes.
anybody else? Then okay,
By
then
the
we
way,
are
for all the
closing.
viewers,
Yes.
the next chapter basically covers Maharana Pratap's reign. So we shall, yeah, move on in that direction next.
Hmm. Thank you, Nina. Now we are ending the stream. Thank you for everyone joining. Thank you for your support still. Thank you.
Thank you for all the viewers.